Welcome to The Bench Has Spoken, a Survivor podcast from Bench Points Network. Each week we watch the latest episode of Survivor 49 and provide a recap, commentary, and then predictions for the next episode. I'm Mary and this is Becca. We are longtime friends and longer time Survivor fans. And as we do every week, we're going to kick it off with an episode recap. Becca?
Yeah. Okay. So this episode, I'm just going to go ahead and start off with it was not as action-packed as we would have expected. Kicked off the episode with everybody going back to tribal council, everybody going back to camp after the last tribal council. Sage was reeling after Joanne was voted out. And from that initial conversation, then they went pretty quickly into somebody going on a journey. One person was able to go on the journey. Nobody really wanted to go initially, which is totally understandable at this point of the game. Nobody wanted to be isolated for that period of time. But eventually they decided Steven was going to go on the journey. He went on the journey and successfully completed his challenge and was able to get reward for completing the challenge. And I'm really impressed with myself because I have been calling journeys adventure challenges and I have been calling rewards awards. And it's only taken me 11 episodes. So I'm going to call it out. You. Thank you. I appreciate that. So after the journey, went back to camp, talked a little game amongst the players. Then we moved pretty quickly into the immunity challenge. This was an immunity and a reward challenge, which was great. And Stephen actually ended up winning that as well. And he was able to pick two buddies to go eat spaghetti with him, which was really cute and sweet. And he picked Christina, which he should have because she used her idol on him the week before. And Rizzo because he hadn't eaten anything in a long time. So after they ate spaghetti, well, actually during spaghetti, they talked a little bit of game. The people at camp talked a little bit of game. They came back as a group and what seemed to be chaos ensued. They got it down between Savannah and Sophie S. And from there they went on to tribal council and unanimously voted Sophie S. out. It was pretty status quo episode to go along with a status quo season. Do you want to start out chatting about the very beginning of the episode when Sage was kind of reeling about Joanne leaving?
I think so. We see Sophie S go to Sage on the beach and Sage is crying and she's very upset. I think she's still very emotional at the loss of Joanne, not only because they
were his life.
Not only because of their alliance, but also because of I think where it puts her in the game. She knows now that she's in big time trouble. And she and Sophie S sort of get into it a little bit because Sophie S is, rightfully so, just kind of explaining why she had to do what she did. It's just the game, and at this point, I think it'd be interesting for anyone to be truly mad that somebody else made a play because this is a game.
And the pool's getting so small. Like you have to vote off somebody. So they didn't have much of a choice.
Right. And there's really, maybe at that point, very minimal benefit for Sophie S to turn on her alliance because we're still a little far removed from the finale. But anyway, one of my favorite things that happened during that time was when, for one of the shots, you could see Sophie B start to come out and then she sees what's going on and she kind of stops.
I don't want to be
not sure if she was trying to eavesdrop or if she was like, oh, they're having a moment, I need to give them a minute.
Yeah.
But that made me laugh.
There's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah. But I think that's the moment when Sage really was like, I gotta get this bleep out of here because she got rid of my friend and I can't trust her and whatever. So
that's one thing about Sage is once she's got a target on you, it's not veering. But it was Savannah, so I guess it did veer. But Sophie B wronged her worse, I guess, getting rid of her best buddy.
And I think Savannah is more of she's an obvious threat in terms of winning the game. She's going to get a lot of votes from the jury. She's made a lot of plays or has been part of a lot of plays. Whereas the twist with Sophie, or turning on Sophie S, was really about this is an action that happened and now I can't trust you, and an emotional reaction.
Sage is a very emotional player. She,
Yeah.
not emotional as in like crying, but like, I don't think she's making game decisions. It's very much.
Yeah. I think she started out making game decisions, and I don't really know when it changed. Because, like, I mean, early-ish on, she knew how to play Shannon, and that whole situation was instrumental in getting her out. So for a couple episodes there, we saw her, be strategic and really seemingly thinking about the game versus, or I don't know, I guess now that I'm saying that out loud, maybe she did just dislike Shannon and think that she was annoying. So that probably was part of it. But I think she also recognized that she was a threat.
Yeah.
From a social game perspective. So
yeah.
But I think that what's another interesting thing from that conversation is when Sage said to Sophie S., "You just handed her $1 million." And I wish that Sage could have kept that mentality and been like, now we have to get rid of Savannah. Like, she's going to win if we don't do something immediately.
Well, we went into the episode, Mary and I, thinking that it's for sure, it has to be Savannah or Rizzo. Everybody knows they're in 50, but if I didn't know they were in 50, I would think it has to be Savannah or Rizzo because they've let those two as a team together slide under the radar. And now they're to the point where they need each other and they need one more person and they can do whatever they want. And whatever they want. And they've got their picking. So if like Steven tells them no, okay, cool. We'll go to Sage. If Sage tells them no, okay, cool. We'll go to Sophie B. But they have had and continue to have all the power. And Savannah was totally vulnerable. This is one of the rare times where she didn't have any type of advantage and she didn't win a challenge. So next episode, if she wins a challenge, there's nothing anybody can do about it. And Rizzo's going in with an idol that he's had the whole damn game because nobody's been...
I think the only thing we can hope for in the next episode is that Rizzo doesn't win immunity and Sophie B decides to flip, because otherwise they're literally completely unstoppable.
We keep saying that and it's disgusting. And I feel like, and I know that they're filming days and days and days and we get a cut of an hour and a half of an episode, including commercials. So there's tons and tons that we don't see, but from the outside looking in, it looks like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah. It just feels like nobody... Well, you've said this countless times. People are just either afraid to play or they're not really there to play. And there may be like a few people on that island who are like, I'm here to win $1 million. I'm here to strategize. And they give the plan and people just go along with it. So whether it's whoever's working with Sophie or Savannah and Rizzo or whoever is on the other side, like, they're just getting a name and they're going with it. And even to some extent, the other alliance is still following along with the Sophie Rizzo. I'm sorry, I keep saying Sophie. Savannah Rizzo.
Well, Savannah and Rizzo are playing everybody like a drum.
It's just boring and sad.
Yeah. Well, the anybody but me mentality is great until like episode 5 or 6. That's what you should be doing, is anybody but me, anybody but me, anybody but me. And then just like sticking with a group of people and saying, oh, who are we collectively voting for? And if it's not you, write their name down. It's fine. But that like time for anybody but me has passed, long past, because they're going to get to the final and people are going to be pleading their case for votes. And people are going to be like, well, I just told everybody what to do. And they said yes. And it's frustrating. Okay, so after that episode where Sage and Sophie kind of had it out, I liked that conversation because it was the first time anybody had really gotten heated. Everything else, people have had disagreements and like talked behind each other's back, but this was the first time there was like a face-to-face like tiff of any sort, and so I like to see that emotion come out. That was really fun. But from there, they moved on to the
journey. We see a boat cometh ashore.
And I thought nobody was driving the boat. I thought it was a self-driving boat or a boat had gotten loose.
Budgets.
Yeah, right.
Just send that boat over there and then one of them will figure out how to ride or drive. That's the challenge, is you have to figure out how to drive the rowboat or whatever it's called.
Catch it. That's the challenge.
I thought this was interesting because you said in the recap that at this point nobody would want to go at whatever. Why is that doing that? But I feel like even at this point, they still should have been fighting to go. If nothing else, just to prevent somebody else from going. Like, you could see So Sophie, B, Savannah, or Rizzo one of them needed to try to go because they knew that they could be comfortable with each other. Like if one of them left, there wasn't going to be some major
I think they're all
shakeout.
scared to lose their vote.
Yeah. But then you're just handing it over to somebody else. So, but I guess,
No risk,
in
no
their
reward.
defense, we did see a lot of regret after, like, Sage said she's 50-50. Steven was like, I'm going to go, which good for him. If he doesn't make everyone's player of the episode list this week,
Oh, yeah.
then you're fooling yourself. But um, he steps right up. He wants to go, and everybody realizes what a mistake they've made later on in letting him go. Why don't you tell us about the award adventure challenge?
So the award adventure challenge, I had very, very, very. I'll tell you what it was first. Okay, so he had this box that had a combination on the top, and he had to find the combination, run around this big ass island to find the numbers to unlock the combination box. So not only did he have to find the numbers, he had to memorize the numbers, so he could go back and put it in the combo box. But there was a countdown, so he had to do it in a certain amount of time before this ball dropped from a pole.
New Year's Eve style.
New Year's Eve style, exactly. And Miley Cyrus style, wrecking ball. But he did. He successfully did it. But in the beginning, when they like zoomed out and showed the island he was running around, I thought, oh no.
Yeah, I felt like it seemed easier than the others. Like I feel like you're almost guaranteed you're going to lose your vote in these journeys. Or it feels like there's a very low chance of winning or getting the advantage, keeping your vote. Just recently, maybe this season only. I thought it was a goner because I just thought there's no way we're going to see something positive happen here for people that we're rooting for. It's going to all be in favor of Savannah and Rizzo. But in the end, I mean, again, not to get ahead of ourselves, but I'm going to. It didn't matter. It didn't matter that he won any of that because they still just freaking let Savannah and Rizzo lead the charge.
He ended up successfully completing the challenge. He got to keep his vote and he got to block a vote. To Mary's point, the whole thing was useless because nobody's using their frickin'
I guess we can
advantages.
hope that next episode he'll use it
What's everybody
effectively
going to do?
to block somebody. Like I think for anything that anybody has at this point to be truly helpful in making sure that Savannah and Rizzo don't win, they all have to be working together.
Yes.
My fear is that Sophie B is going to be very curious about what Steven's advantage is and take it instead of the idol because she might think that it's more powerful. And maybe it will be whatever, they decide they're going to do. But
Steven went back to the island and said, or back to his tribe mates and said, there was a challenge. I got to keep my vote and I got an advantage, but he didn't tell them what the advantage was. He just said, I got an advantage. So to Mary's point, like that curiosity may kill the cat, but I don't know why it would because there's nothing better than individual immunity, right?
Right.
And that's guaranteed. And we know Rizzo has individual immunity. So why would Sophie?
Yeah. I think the only thing that would make me feel like there's a potential for Sophie B to use it and get his advantage is if she's trying to stay tight with her alliance. She could take it because Rizzo is convinced it's a steal a vote. If he convinces her to steal a vote and that the only way that they can all stay is to steal a vote so that it's not a tie, then they could get one of the others out, right?
No,
because it's 3 versus 3.
You're down so low that it's protect me, not protect me.
I totally agree, but I just, what we've seen is protect Savannah and Rizzo and don't give a shit about anybody else. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's how it played out.
And anybody else who has had an idol, like MC and Christina, who else has had one?
Alex, but he blew it.
Yeah.
You said MC.
Everybody who's had one has been so scared. It's like been burning a hole in their pocket. So they get to the tribal council. They're like, I'm using it. Which is like fun, I guess. But like, keep your mouth shut.
What is the record, I wonder, for number of tribal councils somebody has an idol and doesn't play it?
Let's look it up. We'll look it up and make a TikTok about it. So if you're watching this on YouTube, go back and check our TikTok. Sometime this week, we're going to find that answer and make a TikTok about it. Because I think that would be a fun stat for everybody to know. And you know what's even going to be I mean, I'm aggravated that Rizzo still has his idol, but it's going to be hilarious when he never even uses it and he goes to the final two and he's like, I did everything I did. I orchestrated the entire game and I never used my advantage. I didn't need it.
Yeah. I think if he can make it to the votes, he's going to win. I mean, who would vote for Savannah? The only thing I'll say is I feel like olden days Survivor, old era,
back in the
20s. I felt like people used to be able to plead their case. You know, you'd have time to just talk.
Yeah.
Now it's like you can only answer these questions that are specifically being asked. So maybe if the right questions weren't asked, he might not, maybe Savannah would get more votes, but if he had the opportunity to lay out, like, I was literally in a situation where 4 people I did not have any sort of connection with could have easily voted me out and they didn't. And I didn't even have to use my idol. Then I didn't have to use my idol. Then I didn't have to use my idol.
Yeah.
And I'm the one who made the decisions about all these votes. And yes, Savannah was there with me, but anyway, I'm getting to my finale.
No, I think we can talk finale. We can talk about anything whenever we want to think about anything. Our quote that describes our podcast is, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm going to. that's
like my attack line.
Yeah.
Speaking of Rizzo, one thing I wanted to mention from the beginning before we move on is when we first come back from Tribal, at the very beginning of the episode, he's talking about how he wanted to flush Christina's idol. That was his plan, so he was going to use his idol to flush hers. And she stood up first. He didn't even have to, and I think that's part of, I mean, he must have had both of those things in his pocket thinking he was going to play, whatever. But he said that he did this thing, and the jury ate it up. Sorry, we're recording on our computer and it just gave us a thumbs up.
I think it's because it thinks you gave it a thumbs up.
He said that the jury ate it up, and I'm like, okay, so that was definitely just like some swagger to get the jury's attention.
So last week, Rizzo, I mean, if you aren't caught up, Rizzo played an idol because he's been like touting the fact that he's had an idol this whole time. And he said, oh, I want to play my idol. And he stood up and he handed it to Jeff, and Jeff let him sit back down. And then he said, this is, in fact, a fake idol. And then he was like, and I think it left everybody confused. Like, why the hell would you do that? Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. And to Mary's point, he was going to use it to flush Christina's, but Christina beat him to it, so he never even had to do it. That's what I'm saying. They're playing scared with their idols. They're not even giving, like, Jeff asked the question. They're not even giving it time to breathe. They're, like, saying, Jeff, Uncle Jeff.
I'm surprised she didn't, like, fall over something.
Yeah, that's right.
To give it to him. But, yeah. I have to think, anybody sitting on the jury who saw that, do you think they really were like, love that?
No, I think they were probably like everybody else watching and being like,
that's so cringe.
Well, and you're being a jerk.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, sorry. I just wanted to talk about that.
I'm glad you did.
And I also want to mention, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
That Becca had some really good descriptions of Rizzo this episode. First, that he looks like a human version of a catfish, and then also that he has a preteen mustache.
He does have a preteen mustache, but I think the preteen mustache is what makes him look like a human version of a catfish. Pull up a picture of a catfish, and then pull like a literal catfish, not somebody who's lying on the internet, like an actual catfish from a lake. Pull that up and then put it beside Rizzo, and I think you'll see a resemblance there. And I think the preteen mustache leans into that. I also learned something that I said on TikTok Live that I'm going to share with you guys as a group. Cameo, if you know what that is, where you can like look through celebrities and pick one to send you a personalized message. Rizzo's in the top 5 of Cameo. The world loves him. The world loves him. And I think a lot of it has to do with R-I-Z-G-O-D, Riz God Baby. But anyway, I thought that was a really neat fun fact that he's in the top 5 of Cameo. So if he does not win Survivor, he's making some cash from Cameo.
Love that for him.
Yep.
Okay. What's next? So we see Steven keep his vote, and he gets the advantage. Comes back and kind of tells them half of it. Then we go to the reward challenge. I mean the immunity challenge.
Yeah, we go to the immunity challenge. Do you want to talk through the immunity challenge?
Sure. So it's kind of funny because when they get there, everybody's speculating about what the challenge is actually going to be. And Jeff actually, like Sophie B is kind of intimating that she can guess what it's going to be. And so Jeff gives her the opportunity to impersonate him and explain what it is. And she's like, no, I don't think so. But Stephen, of course, steps up and predicts what the challenge
He's a showman too.
But in like an endearing way, not like an asshole way. But so what they have to do is there's blocks that spell the word immunity, so it's not even like a secret of like what the word is. And they're like tethered to a rope. They have to grab a block, walk down a board, go over some steps, and then in reverse order spell out the word immunity in one large stack. And it's on like a very wobbly little disc. The blocks aren't very heavy, so they seem easy to maybe fall down. And it seems like right away everyone's sort of like neck and neck. Maybe a couple of people are not as in it as others, but like Sage, Savannah, Steven are all doing really well, and Sophie B, I think, too. But after Sophie B's blocks fall, Steven, he's like clearly in the lead, and our boy wins immunity.
One fell swoop. I keep thinking he was going to fall. I loved this challenge. One, because it was an endurance challenge, and we all know Savannah's going to win every single endurance challenge, especially now that Sophie S is gone.
Yeah.
Wait. Do you think now that Sophie S is gone, Soph is going to go back to Sophie?
I made a note. I don't know. That would be great.
I hope.
What if they change her in the opening credits back to Sophie?
I hope
her rightful name.
I hope so.
Twitter will be alive with chatter about this, I'm sure.
I hope that's the case. Anyway, sidebar. But I loved this challenge. It was super suspenseful. We were on TikTok live watching the episode, and multiple times both of us were going because we thought that something was gonna fall, and it didn't. It was magical. I really, really liked this one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
It was a good time too.
Yeah. And I kind of felt, sometimes when you look at these challenges, it's obvious who might have an advantage. For example, the one where they stood in the doorway things, and they have like the little things their feet go on. Someone who's smaller, who has smaller feet, is probably going to do better in that than like some big, huge person with gigantic feet. But this one, I thought maybe there was a possibility that the smaller people would be
lower center of gravity, maybe.
Right. Yeah. Just have less like weight to kind of help them keep the tension right on that rope and all that kind of stuff. But I felt like it was pretty fair and even. So
yeah, I agree.
I'm a fan of that.
I agree. I thought it was really fun. So after Stephen won, he won individual immunity, which is like the number one thing that he was most excited about. So it's the title of this episode was Cherry on Top. So the individual immunity was cherry on top after he had already won a block of votes. So Stephen was the all-star MVP of this episode, aside from the fact that he didn't force Savannah or Rizzo out. That's the only thing that he could have done better. But he won spaghetti, which is exciting. And I thought they were going to make him eat spaghetti alone.
Which I'm like, that's great. I love it. Although maybe not in the game of Survivor where you don't want people to have a chance to talk about you.
Isolated for the second time to eat carbs. But he was able to pick two people to go with him, and he picked Christina, which he needed to because she used her idol on him, and Rizzo because Rizzo hadn't eaten. And then Rizzo cried about that. Were you shocked about that?
No, because I feel like a lot of what he's got going on is bravado. It's like a mask. He wants to be RIZGOD baby, but he's shown us that he's vulnerable, and he's still young, and he's still a baby,
Yeah.
So I'm not real shocked that he cried. I was a little bit surprised that he picked Rizzo because I thought that he was going to pick Sophie B just so that he could have a chance to talk to her.
Yeah.
And maybe he just didn't have a good enough excuse for pulling her in. It would have been obvious that it was for strategy.
But that wouldn't have been bad.
Well, I guess not, but...
Because you know who Rizzo would have picked? Sophie B. Savannah himself.
Yeah, that's true. I guess we can talk about that later, but his allegiance to those girls is gonna potentially be his downfall. Decide to turn on him, I think.
Somebody needs to turn. Anyway, so they went to eat spaghetti. While they were eating spaghetti, In the Ponderosa?
Ponderosa is
In
where they are before and now.
Okay. In the sanctuary.
Yes. There
They were eating spaghetti in the sanctuary.
I was back at camp though. Sorry.
Okay, back at camp. Nobody went to the sanctuary. When people have won challenges previously in this season, everybody just goes back and enjoys their food and doesn't talk game and just chills and relaxes and enjoys themselves. This time they actually talked game, which I was proud of them for doing. Because in historic seasons, every season before this, anytime groups of people got isolated or like separated from the group, that they were very purposeful and intentional about their conversations. They talked about gameplay. They talked about strategy. They talked about who they wanted people to think that they were voting for. So it was refreshing to see them actually talking game while they were eating spaghetti.
I agree with you, and I'm shocked that this hasn't happened before now in this season. I was a little annoyed, or I don't know if that's the right word. I don't know what word is correct. Some kind of negative emotion toward Rizzo for being like, well, I have the idol. I have the idol. As if somehow bringing that up is going to instill trust in Steven.
Yeah, it's like he was sharing new information, but everybody knows. Yeah. Everybody knows.
And, we were talking about this during the live that Christina wasn't really saying much. She was kind of just eating, which is fine.
Yeah.
But in her confessional, she's talking about how, great, I'm pretending I'm listening to you. Whatever. There's no reason not to go along with what you're saying, but we got to get Savannah out. And I was really excited, as were you, about the fact that she's got the common sense to know that they got to get Savannah out, or Rizzo, but Savannah's the better choice, knowing the idol exists. And it gave me so much hope that was actually going to happen.
Yeah. Well, it did me too. And they made it look, when they went back to camp after the spaghetti, it made it look like they were potentially considering, and that could go both ways, especially when Sophie B was saying, oh, okay, 3 people are going to vote for Savannah. 3 people are going to vote for Sophie B. So I get to choose who the person is. But in reality, it was like unanimous. Sophie, I want to see the rest of the votes.
They showed them. Everybody voted for Sophie S. except for Sophie S.
I hate that.
Yeah. I don't understand. I guess, okay, as we go further into this season, I think you can make an argument for Sophie S. being a threat. They had some valid points. She's won a lot of immunity challenges. She's strong, so she could win more immunity challenges, as the group gets smaller.
But there's one more, right? There's one more than the finale.
Yes, yeah. Well, she could win that one. And then she also has been on the right side of the vote every single time, which, you could say.
Those are all things that I would say if I was Savannah, try not to get my ass voted out.
Yeah. Well, exactly. But I think that, I guess my point is, right now, the top 3 people that are threats to get votes from the jury are Savannah, Sophie S., and Rizzo. So they still got one of those 3 people out, but the problem is that Sophie S. was a potential swing, maybe she would have really recognized that she needed to get rid of Savannah and Rizzo, and she wouldn't have worried as much about the alliance as Rizzo and Savannah do about each other, or Sophie B even. So it's still a miss. I think it should have been Savannah or Rizzo. That would have been a smarter thing, but I could see people being nervous about her at the same level as Savannah and Rizzo, especially if they don't know as much as we know about how big of a threat they are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, isn't it crazy? Somebody who we didn't know who she was for the first 5 episodes is now one of the top 3 biggest, or was one of the top 3 biggest threats in the game. That's crazy.
It's wild. And you gotta ask, maybe we'll find out more. Because, okay, On Fire, the official Survivor podcast, they always talk about the person who got voted out in the prior episode. So maybe they'll talk about the edit.
I didn't listen to last week's. Did Jeff?
Didn't either.
Oh, I want to know what Jeff thought about it. Because he seems like a super likable guy.
My confession here is that I was so mad. Was it 2 episodes ago? It wasn't the Jawan vote. It was, who got voted out before Jawan? Alex?
Alex.
It was the Alex vote. I was so mad that Savannah, because that was the episode where she like was talking about getting iced out or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I was so annoyed, and I started listening to it, and they started talking about that, and I was like, I can't. So I haven't listened to any episodes since then because I was so mad about that one. I think I need to just mark it as played and move on. And listen to the other ones, but I'm behind. But I'm definitely gonna catch up on Juwan's and listen about Sophia's because I want to know if they talk about why they didn't feature her. I doubt they will, but
I hope they do talk about it.
Somebody's got to.
Yeah.
Maybe she will. Maybe her exit press might be interesting to hear more about what was going on.
Well, everybody online, I made a TikTok about them not showing Christina or Sophie, and everybody online was saying, because they haven't done anything, they don't do anything, nobody's done anything, they haven't done anything. But if they played at all in the beginning of the season as they did in the end, I'm not saying they did or didn't. We just don't know because they weren't on the screen at all. I'm just curious because there had to have been something.
Yeah, and even if I don't know, I guess maybe I could go either way on this, but even if she did not play aggressively at the beginning, there were people who didn't need to play at all because nobody was going to tribal except for Kella at first, who were being featured and she wasn't. But knowing what her like eventual storyline would be and like how successful she would be, that makes it more surprising that they didn't feature her more at the beginning. But maybe there just truly was nothing to show of her. Maybe she didn't really do anything worth noting or wasn't they couldn't like force the edit to show her because it was truly just crap.
Yeah, well, they're just relaxing. Who knows? I doubt they were relaxing, but just kicking her feet up. Good stuff. Okay, so we talked about the challenge. We talked about the spaghetti. We talked about everybody at camp going back and forth. Did the deliberation make you think it was going to be Savannah? It did me for a second.
Yeah. I mean, yes, because I feel like they were harping so much on the idea of getting out people who are strong and then the revenge thing that it made me feel like it was going to be the other way. Yeah, so that was annoying.
And Sage just had a target on Savannah for a long, long time and then finally switched to Sophie because of Juwan. She's very, very loyal, Sage is. And she really, can... I don't know. I think she was easily motivated because she was trying to get revenge from Juwan. Did you see Juwan's reaction when they voted her out? Yeah. And he kept on going... He was excited.
Okay, this is a wild card thought, but... I love Sage, and I this is thinking way too much into this, but that's what I do. So going back to the beginning of this episode where she's sitting on the beach with Sophie S. and she says, you just handed her $1 million. I wonder if in that moment, Sage really was like, I can't win this game, but I want to make sure that this hoe don't win this game. Yeah. And so this whole thing was like, just... quitting before you get fired. I got to get Juwan or get revenge for Juwan, if nothing else, before I go. Which I guess I can respect to some extent because then at least you're like not going out without a fight. Yeah, yeah. Or stirring up some crap.
I could totally see that being her mindset because, I mean, if they have any type of, we have a different vantage point, obviously, because we're not playing the game, but if they have any, similarity, they have to know that Savannah and Rizzo are in a power position. Yeah. And have been.
Mm-hmm. I wonder if there's going to be anything that comes out, whether it's during the jury questioning and stuff or in some other way, that tells us maybe there was more to what happened tonight than we think. We see that Savannah and Rizzo obviously want to go Sophie S. because they can't go Steven. They don't want Savannah to be the target. But maybe there was more push or something from Sage. I don't know. I guess there was plenty of that.
Yeah, I don't think I got to see as much back and forth at Tribal or before Tribal that I wish I would have. But once I got to Tribal Council, I think it was pretty obvious. You know how they sat down and Jeff asked all these leading questions to kind of get people to rat on themselves or switch or sway or whatnot. That whole time I was like, oh, it's going to be Sophie B. Or Sophie S. I wanted it to be Savannah, but it wasn't.
Yeah.
There wasn't even. And the fact that they were unanimous makes me sick.
Yeah, I know. It's just...
And, okay, I have something else that we need to think about. Next episode, if I'm correct, this episode, one more episode, which they'll have the opportunity to do individual immunity, yada, 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 then the finale.
Correct.
So that tells me next episode, if you got something, you play something.
Yeah.
So
I would say so.
So Sophie B can take Rizzo's individual immunity. Can she take it and then use it on herself? Mm-hmm. Okay. Then that makes me feel a little bit better because what I wanted her to do this episode, take Rizzo's idol, have people vote for Rizzo, and that way she could keep the individual immunity idol, carry it over to the next episode, guarantee her spot in the finale, and get Rizzo out. I think she has to do something major to have any kind of leverage.
Well, okay. Every time I think something's going to happen, it doesn't, because it's always just whatever benefits Savannah and Rizzo is what actually happens.
Yeah.
But I think if we're going to see something big next time,
we have to. Everybody's going to empty their pockets.
If we're going to, I guess what I mean by something big is like if we're going to see a Rizzo takeout or Savannah takeout, it's got to be Steven and Sophie B working together so Sophie B can take Rizzo's idol and they can use Steven's extra vote to get one of them out. Because it's going to be a 3v3
Did he get extra vote or block a vote?
I'm sorry, block vote. Well, yeah. But so that their side can have the advantage. Yeah. So it would have to be everybody agreeing to vote out Savannah or Rizzo. And then her using her knowledge is power to take his idol. And I guess she maybe doesn't have to play. I don't know if she has to play it when she gets it or not, but...
Can? Can?
I think I think so. Yeah.
I didn't know.
But I just don't know if she can carry it forward.
Yeah. I don't think she can carry it forward. I think, if I'm correct, I think next episode's the last time you can use
that would make sense.
Advantages. Because then after that, it would be down to 5.
Right.
Which would be who competes for...
Well, they would do one more challenge, and whoever wins that gets to decide who they're taking, and then the others...
Yeah.
They still have to vote somebody out, right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's 3 that go to the jury now, right?
Yeah.
Still. So one of them would pick who they're taking who's going to compete. No, they'd have to still have one.
Maybe in the finale they vote somebody out and then...
Yeah, I think so. Because it's like a long episode. They do a tribal and then they do the other challenge where whoever wins decides who they're taking and the other 2 people have to make fire.
Yeah. Okay. So my prediction is Savannah's going to be the one who gets to pick who she's taking. And I think Rizzo's going to be gone by then. And I think Savannah's going to take Sage and Sophie B.
Well, there'd be 4 people left, and say Savannah could pick one of the 4 people to be a guarantee, and then the other 2 people have to make fire. So who would she make?
I think for a guarantee she would pick Sage.
And then Steven and Sophie B have to make fire.
Yeah. Or Christina.
Or Christina.
Or maybe she would take Christina.
Yeah, I think she would take.
Because I think Christina's done stuff, but mediocre stuff.
Well, that would be interesting because it's like when we are deciding who's making fire, people want to do it if they don't feel like they've had enough big plays.
Because I think that's a big play.
I guess.
I don't think that's a big play.
Well, people, anything they can add.
Yeah.
So I think that I could see Sophie B being like, I want to make fire. Because she needs to have done something. Even if I guess if she does a huge blindside type of thing and takes out Rizzo or Savannah, then maybe she wouldn't need to make fire. But if she doesn't do anything of note, I think she'd want to make fire. And I think Christina would too. If she made it that far.
I could see Christina accidentally making the biggest and best fire.
Burning down that whole pirate ship.
She set a new track record. She sat there, oh my goodness, I just made this big fire.
Okay, so who you think next episode Rizzo's going?
Yeah.
Okay. Noted. And then I'm going to say, I think it's going to be
Don't say Sage.
I don't think it'd be Sage.
Okay.
I don't think they have a reason to get rid of her. The only thing I could think,
Steven.
unless he wins immunity again, which I could see him doing,
Yeah.
honestly. I would love it. If Steven won immunity and he could work with Sophie B, then they can take out Savannah or Rizzo. That'd be
Ideal.
You know what I also think would be fun?
What?
Is if they get out Savannah next time, and then we end up with Christina, Sage, Rizzo, Sophie, and Steven, and then somehow, some way, it all plays out to where Rizzo has to make fire. I don't think he would make fire.
No.
And I think, unless he was up against Christina, maybe. And that would be so funny if
watching
somebody who played that well this whole time goes out for fire.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think he's a tactical player. I was expecting this episode to have so much action since we're getting so close to the end. I was expecting,
and still no fucking shot in the dark.
No shot in the dark. Nothing. Well, she was blindsided. She says she must be.
She knew that she was going to get votes on her, and she knew that Steven had an advantage. So you can't call that a blindside. I didn't think it through. That's not a blindside.
She's called a unanimous blindside.
If she had played her knowledge as power and it worked, she could have gotten Savannah out by herself. And then you cannot tell me that wouldn't count for something in the end. Because, yeah, it's luck, but still.
I just feel like I'm somebody's girlfriend who's like begging their boyfriend to do anything. And then I keep getting hopeful each week and nothing. Yeah. Nothing. No flowers, no card.
And you know what I'll say about the teaser trailer is that at least this time
you've gotta beef with the teaser trailers
because it's never okay. It's one thing for them to make us think that one side is going to be in charge when the other one is, or that one person is going to get voted out when the other person is. But literally, they are now just showing random ass clips and acting like it's some big thing. Yeah. Like they could have literally just shown a picture of the chicken going, and then everybody would have been like, oh my god, something big time is going to happen with the chickens. And then it would have just been literally like, oh, they chopped its head off, you know? Yeah. Which I guess the chicken would.
I don't think they ever caught the chickens this episode. I think the chickens got the best of them. Good for Sage. She got revenge twice. They didn't catch the chickens. They got Sophie S. out.
Yeah.
Guys, before we end this, because I feel like we've talked a bunch, but if you're watching live on YouTube, there is a secret in this frame.
If you can, you can make a contest out of it. You can spot the secret. We'll mention you by name in our next TikTok live.
Yeah, so comment if you see the secret.
As she just pointed out.
Anyway, oh wait, one more comment I want to make. When Stephen went on the journey, and he was trekking through the water near the rocks, I said, does he not know there are secrets in the water? And there's a lot of controversy around the secret and Jake, but that man did not get bit. And if he did get bit, it was the teeniest bit. And it was from like a tiny fish, maybe a latch.
Well, it makes me think of on Arrested Development, which you've probably never seen, where I thought you were just going to turn it off. When they say you're going to get a lot of hop-ons, you're going to get a lot of lash-ons. I think I don't know, I haven't said this yet here, but I found what I believe is the first instance of a secret on Survivor. It's actually season 1. It's the first individual immunity challenge when it was a 2-parter. So first they all had to hold their breath underwater. They were like the top 3 that could the longest went on to the next part. Well, when they transitioned from being in the underwater part to the next step, a secret swims by.
Did they say, everybody get out of the waters, this is the most dangerous animal on earth?
And then they all had to go home because they were swimming near a secret.
Did they?
No.
Oh.
Have you seen
It's been a long time. Season 1, I remember watching it being like, these people are going to die. Did you think that?
No. I mean, I figured they wouldn't let them.
Well,
but I was also a sophomore in high school.
They showed them in a thunderstorm outside. I was concerned.
They went to bed with their hair wet. They're going to die.
Elizabeth and...
That's our season 2.
Oh, well, I think that was my first time. I don't think I've seen season 1. Can you believe it?
We had to do that between season 49 and season 50.
Okay.
I mean, we could watch other seasons too, but
There's one of the early seasons where there's a old lady from Knoxville, which is where my husband's from. I can't remember her name, but I remember my parents being like really big cheerleaders of her because she was from Tennessee. Yeah,
that's how we were for Rupert, because Indiana.
Oh, well, he's just a gem in general. He's a lovely person, he seems like.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And if you're watching this and you've made it this far, then you probably are interested in the fact that we live stream watching the episodes each week. So join us for that on TikTok and follow us on Instagram and X. The Bench has spoken on all of this. So
yeah.
Thank you.
Catch you next episode.
Bye.